Hello and welcome to Best of Lectures YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. My name is Ari, and I am the founder of this channel, dedicated to bringing you cozy animated lectures and teachings on topics like manifestation, money and wealth creation, the law of attraction, and so much more. If you're someone who is looking to unlock your full potential, attract abundance into your life, and create the reality you've been always dreamed of, then you're in the right place. I truly believe that we have the ability to create the life of our dreams through our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions. Whether you are looking to attract more money, meaningful relationships, manifest your dream job, or simply improve your mindset and overall well-being, this channel is for you. I promise to provide you with valuable content that will inspire, motivate, and empower you to take control of your life and create the abundance you deserve. So if you're ready to take the next step towards living your best life, hit that subscribe button and join our community of like-minded people who are committed to creating the life of their dreams. Together we can learn, grow, and create a life filled with success and fulfillment. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Remember, the power to manifest is within you. Let's make magic happen together.
Take a deep breath. Because if these words have found you, it's not by accident. You are standing at the threshold of divine rearrangement. Life is quietly, powerfully shifting in your favor. You've walked through uncertainty, questioned your path, and wondered if things would ever change, and yet something inside you refused to give up. That silent strength was never weakness. It was faith disguised as patience. Right now, unseen forces are aligning to bring forth the harvest of everything you have believed for. What once seemed delayed is simply being divinely timed. Every closed door, every pause was not rejection, it was redirection. Life doesn't move according to fear. It moves according to belief. The moment you stopped begging and started assuming, the moment you began to feel yourself already there, that was when the shift began. Everything you've imagined with conviction is gathering form. Reality has no choice but to obey the vibration of your inner knowing. You don't chase what's yours. You align with it. Release the struggle. Let go of the when and how. Surrender your timeline to the higher wisdom that already knows what belongs to you. You are not waiting for favor. Favor has already found you. This moment right here is a sacred reminder the story is turning. The momentum is shifting. The tide is now flowing toward you. Every obstacle was part of your preparation. Every loss was clearing the space for what was meant to stay. You are being positioned for what you once prayed for. So lift your head, breathe deeper, and dare to believe again. Because if you're seeing this, it's your sign. The delay has expired. The door has unlocked. Everything is turning in your favor, quietly, perfectly, inevitably. It's not coming, it's already here. What you are sensing right now, that quiet pull within your spirit, that gentle awareness that something is shifting, is not random, it's not wishful thinking, and it's not your imagination. It is confirmation that the unseen has already begun to move. The shift has already started. Long before the evidence appears in the outer world, something begins to stir in the unseen realm. Within you, every great change begins there, in the silence of your inner world, where thoughts turn to conviction and conviction turns into reality. You might look around and see little progress or even confusion, but make no mistake, The rearrangement is already underway. The universe is a precise mirror of your inner state. The moment you dare to feel differently, to think differently, to assume something greater about yourself, the vibration of your being sends out a signal, and that signal cannot return empty. It draws back to you the circumstances, people, and opportunities that match your new frequency. That is not magic, it is law. The divine order of cause and effect, operating at a level most people never consciously witness. The truth is, outer change always lags behind inner transformation. The world must take its time to rearrange itself according to the blueprint you've already created in consciousness. Just as a seed grows unseen beneath the soil, your new reality is quietly forming beneath the surface of your current experience. Don't mistake the silence for stagnation. Don't assume that because nothing seems to be happening, nothing is. Every prayer you've whispered, every new belief you've entertained, every moment you've chosen faith over fear, they are all part of this unfolding shift. Sometimes the universe rearranges things by first shaking them. Old structures, relationships, or routines might start to fall apart. It's easy to panic and assume things are going wrong, but what's really happening is divine alignment. The old vibration can't coexist with the new one. The things that no longer serve your higher self must dissolve to make room for what does. What feels like loss is actually preparation. What looks like chaos is simply the old world fading out as the new one takes form. That's why your awareness is so powerful. The shift responds to your inner focus. The more you fix your attention on what's unfolding rather than what's disappearing, the faster the realignment becomes visible. Gratitude becomes your bridge between the unseen and the seen. The moment you begin to thank life, not for what you wish you had, but for what you know is already done, you speed up the manifestation process. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to acknowledge that it already has. The shift isn't coming someday in the future. It's already here. You are standing in the middle of it right now. The universe has heard the frequency of your new belief, and it has begun to move mountains in your favor. What you sense is real. What you feel is the beginning of fulfillment. The shift has already begun, and it's working for you. Everything you will ever experience in this world first takes root in the invisible garden of your imagination. Every dream, every achievement, every breakthrough, they all begin as unseen images held within the quiet chambers of your mind. Imagination is not fantasy, it is creation in motion. It is the place where the invisible becomes visible, where potential takes on the shape of reality. What you dare to see and feel within must eventually appear without, for life is only ever responding to the vibration of your inner conviction. The truth is, imagination is the blueprint of your destiny. It is the language through which you speak to the universe. When you imagine something with deep emotion and certainty, you are not merely daydreaming. You are constructing the pattern that life itself will follow. Everything around you today was once an invisible idea in someone's mind. The house you live in, the phone you use, the world you move through, it all began as thought. And thought became form through persistent belief. In the same way, your inner images are constantly building the architecture of your future. To imagine is to create. When you close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of the thing you desire, when you feel the emotions of fulfillment before the evidence appears, you set the law of correspondence into motion. The outer world must then adjust itself to reflect your new inner state. This is why the greatest power you possess is not action, but awareness. You don't change your world by struggling with it. You change it by assuming something greater about yourself and holding that assumption as truth even when your senses deny it. The unseen realm of imagination is the workshop of reality. It doesn't matter what the facts around you currently say. The facts are temporary, they are the product of old beliefs. What matters is what you are daring to see now, what you're feeling now. If you can sustain an image of your desired state long enough, the world will bend itself to your vision. The only limits you have are the ones you impose upon your imagination. When you allow yourself to imagine freely, without fear or doubt, you step into your role as co-creator with the divine. You begin to see that imagination is not an escape from life. It is life's truest expression. Everything begins there, every healing, every opportunity, every transformation. When you live from the end in your mind, when you see yourself already complete, you dissolve the gap between desire and fulfillment. So dare to imagine the highest version of yourself, see it clearly, feel it deeply, walk in it mentally until it feels real, because in the unseen, it already is. The world around you is merely catching up. Imagination creates the path, and once you see it within, life has no choice but to carve it before you. There comes a sacred moment in every journey when you must learn to release, to let go of the tight grip you've kept on how and when your desire should appear. This act of surrender is not giving up, it's giving over. It's the realization that control is the language of fear, while trust is the language of faith. When you release the need to force outcomes, life begins to move freely, naturally, and beautifully in your favor. Detachment is not indifference, it's inner assurance. It's knowing that what you've asked for is already on its way, and that your only task now is to align with its arrival. So often we block what we desire because we refuse to let go of control. We watch the clock, analyze the signs, and question whether things are working. Every time we do this, we send out a vibration of doubt, and doubt delays. The universe does not respond to impatience, it responds to faith. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop grasping, the energy you've been holding back is released. What you've been praying for suddenly finds an open door to reach you. Detachment is not coldness, it's peace. It's that calm knowing that says, I've done my part, now the universe will do the rest. When you detach, you stop trying to manipulate the process and instead become a participant in the flow of divine timing. You start to realize that everything is already working in perfect harmony. Even the delays, even the detours. What you once called a setback often turns out to be divine redirection, placing you exactly where your desire can meet you most easily. Letting go does not mean losing interest. It means trusting that your desire has already been heard and answered. Just as a farmer plants a seed and does not dig it up every day to check if it's growing, you too must allow your intentions to take root in the unseen. Constantly worrying about how or when something will happen only uproots what is already developing beneath the surface. True alignment comes when you plant your desire in faith and then live in the joy of expectation, not in the anxiety of waiting. When you detach, you align your energy with the outcome instead of the absence of it. You shift from longing to having, from need to knowing. Life then mirrors that inner ease with outer flow. Unexpected opportunities begin to appear. The right people cross your path. Doors open effortlessly because you've stopped standing in your own way. Letting go is not weakness, it is ultimate strength. It is the courage to trust that the same power that gave you the vision will also fulfill it. The universe knows the timing, the path, and the sequence better than you ever could. So breathe deeply, release the tension, and allow life to do what it does best. Deliver exactly what you've been holding in faith. Detachment is not the end of effort, it is the beginning of alignment. Everything you experience in life is a mirror reflecting the state of consciousness you are living from. The outer world does not happen to you, it happens through you. Your relationships, your opportunities, your challenges, all of them arise from the vibration of who you believe yourself to be. This is the quiet yet undeniable law of existence. Your inner state commands reality. The world faithfully projects the image you hold within. If you see yourself as overlooked, life will find ways to confirm that belief. If you see yourself as favored, doors will open without struggle. The conditions around you are simply the echo of your inner assumptions. This is why true transformation never begins with circumstances. It begins with identity. The moment you assume something new about yourself, the moment you begin to live from that inner conviction rather than striving toward it, reality must reorganize to reflect it. Your outer world is not stubborn, it's obedient. It responds precisely to the story you're telling yourself every day. Many people try to change their life by working harder or pushing against what they don't want, but all that effort is in vain if the inner story remains the same. You cannot attract abundance while holding the assumption of lack. You cannot experience love while secretly believing you are unworthy of it. You cannot step into freedom while identifying as trapped. The change must happen at the level of being, not doing. When you shift your inner state, the outer world follows like a shadow. It may not happen instantly in form, but it happens immediately in energy. And once the inner vibration stabilizes, the physical must catch up. This is why faith feels so powerful. It's the conscious act of living from the unseen reality as though it were already true. Faith doesn't beg, it assumes. It doesn't wait for proof, it rests in knowing. Every time you choose to hold a new assumption about yourself, you give birth to a new world. The outer world is simply the stage upon which your inner convictions perform. If you want a new experience, step into a new state of being. Ask yourself, who would I be if my desire were already fulfilled? And then begin to live from that answer. Walk, speak, and think as that person now. The universe has no choice but to respond in kind. When you recognize that reality is not external but reflective, life becomes effortless. You stop trying to fix appearances and instead transform the root your consciousness. The instant you assume a new identity and persist in it, everything outside must conform. It cannot resist you because it is you. The world is your mirror, and when you change the image you hold within, the reflection must change without. The power has never been outside of you. It has always been your inner state commanding reality. There is a rhythm to life that operates beyond your understanding, a divine order that orchestrates events with absolute precision. When things seem delayed or uncertain, it is not because you have been forgotten. It is because everything is being divinely arranged in perfect sequence. Divine timing is not human timing. It does not rush and it does not hesitate. It moves with purpose, ensuring that every piece aligns at the exact moment it is meant to. Many people mistake waiting for stagnation. They assume that when nothing appears to be happening, the dream has died or the prayer has gone unanswered. But what you call delay, the universe calls preparation. In the unseen, forces are being woven together: people, opportunities, lessons, and alignments, all moving toward the fulfillment of your intention. The pause you are in is sacred. It's not punishment, it's positioning. You are being placed exactly where you need to be for what you've asked for to unfold with grace. Divine timing often hides its perfection in what seems like chaos. Doors may close, plans may shift, relationships may end. But these are not signs of failure. They are the subtle movements of divine intelligence. Life knows what must leave so that what belongs can enter. Sometimes the thing you desire most cannot arrive until you become the person who can sustain it. The waiting period is not wasted time, it's transformation. Every experience in the in-between is shaping you, strengthening you, refining you into alignment with what's already yours. When you learn to trust divine timing, you enter a state of peace. You no longer chase outcomes or panic at delays. You understand that everything is happening for you, not to you. You begin to live with quiet assurance, knowing that life's clock is never late. What's meant for you doesn't need to be forced. It flows. The pieces that once seemed scattered will suddenly click into place when the moment is right, and when it happens, it will happen effortlessly. The beauty of divine timing is that it always brings more than you expected and arrives better than you planned. You might have thought your dream was delayed, but it was actually being perfected. The universe never forgets what you believed for. It simply ensures that its arrival blesses you and not burdens you. Everything that appears slow or silent is serving a higher purpose. The unseen orchestration is working in your favor even when you can't perceive it. So release the urge to control the pace of your journey. Trust the process that you cannot see but can feel. Every step, every pause, every redirection is sacred. Life is not behind schedule, it is right on time. When it arrives, you will understand why it couldn't have come a moment sooner or later. Everything is unfolding in perfect divine order. Every piece is falling exactly where it should, perfectly, purposefully, and inevitably. There comes a point in every journey when the air grows still, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is aligning. That stillness you feel right now is not emptiness, it is expectancy. You are standing at the edge of fulfillment. It's the sacred moment before manifestation, the quiet pause before the curtain rises on what you've been waiting for. This is the calm before your breakthrough, and though it may feel uncertain, it is a sign that the divine is completing what it began. Every challenge you faced was never meant to break you. It was meant to build the strength and faith required for what's about to unfold. Every delay, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer was shaping your inner world to match the magnitude of your destiny. What once felt like resistance was actually refinement. The universe was teaching you patience, deepening your trust, and preparing you to hold the blessing you've been calling in. You could not arrive at this moment without the preparation that preceded it. The edge of fulfillment is a sacred threshold. It often feels like nothing is happening, yet everything is. It's the moment when life tests your inner stability. Do you still believe, even when you can't yet see? This is where your faith speaks louder than your fears. This is where you rest, not in evidence, but in knowing. When you reach this stage, it means the manifestation has already taken root. It is simply waiting for the perfect moment to appear in your visible world. Think of it like dawn. The sky is dark just before the first light appears. The silence before sunrise is not the absence of life. It's the universe holding its breath before illumination. The same is true for you. That quiet, almost unbearable pause you feel is not the end. It's the prelude to a new beginning. What's coming is bigger than what you lost, greater than what you imagined, and more aligned than what you once tried to force. You have already crossed the hardest parts of your path. The lessons have been learned, the old patterns have been released, and your vibration now matches what you've been believing for. The universe doesn't withhold. It delivers when you are ready to receive. And readiness is not about effort, it's about embodiment. You've become the version of yourself that can hold the life you once dreamed of, and now life is responding. So take a deep breath and trust the stillness. Don't rush the unfolding, savor it. The energy has already shifted. The door is already unlocked. You're not waiting for your breakthrough, it's waiting for you to recognize that it's here. You are standing at the edge of fulfillment, and soon the invisible will become visible. Every challenge, every tear, every unanswered moment has led you right to this divine threshold. The calm you feel is not the end, it is the beginning of everything you've ever asked for. And now, as you stand in this moment, take a deep breath and realize everything has already begun to move in your favor. The shift is not coming, it's happening. You have aligned your inner world with faith, surrendered control, trusted divine timing, and stepped into the calm before fulfillment. Every delay was direction, every challenge was preparation, and every prayer has been heard. The universe is responding to the new vibration you carry, the one built on trust, gratitude, and quiet certainty. You are no longer chasing what's yours, you are allowing it to come. Life is rearranging itself to mirror your belief, and what's unfolding ahead will prove that nothing was ever wasted. The pieces are falling into place, the doors are opening, and favor is flowing toward you effortlessly. You are walking into a season where the unseen becomes seen, where the waiting turns into receiving, and where peace gives birth to manifestation. So, lift your head, walk in faith, and remember, you are not behind, not forgotten, and not overlooked. You are perfectly positioned, divinely guided, and deeply supported. Everything is turning in your favor, and this is your time to witness it. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for believing again in what's possible. May these words remind you that your power lies within, that faith is never in vain, and that life is always working for you. Even when you can't yet see how, stay open, stay trusting, and stay grateful, because everything you've hoped for is already on its way.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to imagine for a moment that you are living in a house with many floors, but you spent your entire life in the basement. The basement is dimly lit, cramped, and filled with the echoes of problems. You can hear activity on the floors above, laughter, music, the sounds of celebration. But you believe these upper floors are fantasies, unreachable dreams, impossible realities. What if I told you tonight that you are indeed living in such a house, and that most of humanity has mistaken the basement for the entire building? What if I told you that there are dimensions of reality so magnificent, so abundant, so perfect, that they would seem like heaven itself to someone trapped in the basement of ordinary consciousness. Tonight I want to take you on a journey through the floors of this cosmic house. I want to show you the three primary dimensions of existence that you move through every day, often without knowing it. I want to reveal to you the 3D world of effects, the 4D world of causation, and the 5D world of pure being. And most importantly, I want to teach you how to consciously ascend from one to another until you live primarily in the penthouse of divine consciousness. Just yesterday, a woman came to me in tears. She said, "Neville, I've been studying these teachings for 5 years. I understand them intellectually, but my life hasn't changed. I still struggle with money, my health is deteriorating, and my relationships are a mess. What am I doing wrong?" I looked at this sincere seeker and immediately recognized her problem. I said, "My dear, you're trying to solve 3D problems with 3D thinking. You're attempting to rearrange the furniture in the basement instead of moving to a higher floor. You haven't truly understood that there are dimensions of reality where your problems simply don't exist." She looked confused. So I continued. Right now you're living primarily in what I call the 3D world, the world of physical effects, material circumstances, and apparent limitations. But there exists a 4D world, the world of imagination and assumption, where you can consciously create the causes that will reshape your 3D experience. And beyond that lies the 5D world, the realm of pure being, where you exist as the very consciousness in which all realities are possible. "But how do I access these other dimensions?" she asked. "By understanding that you're not trying to go somewhere else," I replied. "You're trying to realize where you already are. These dimensions aren't different places. They're different levels of consciousness, different ways of being aware. And consciousness can shift between them as easily as you can choose to focus on sounds in different rooms of your house." This woman learned to distinguish between these dimensions of reality. And within 3 months her entire life had transformed. Not because she changed anything in the 3D world directly, but because she learned to live primarily from the higher dimensions where transformation is natural and effortless. Let me explain these 3 worlds to you in detail, because understanding them will revolutionize not just your manifestation abilities, but your entire experience of existence. The 3D world is what most people consider to be the only reality. It's the world you perceive with your 5 physical senses, what you can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. It's the world of solid objects, linear time, cause and effect as understood by physics, and apparent limitation. In the 3D world, if you want more money, you must work harder or find better opportunities. If you want better health, you must exercise more or take medicine. If you want love, you must find the right person and convince them to care about you. Everything requires physical action, external cooperation, and often struggle against resistant circumstances. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in 3D consciousness, believing that this physical reality is the ultimate authority. They let their bank account determine how abundant they feel. They let their body determine how healthy they feel. They let other people's behavior determine how loved they feel. They are completely at the mercy of external conditions because they don't realize there are higher dimensions from which these conditions can be consciously created. Here's what they don't understand. The 3D world is not the cause of anything. It's purely a world of effects. Everything you see in the 3D world is the result of activity in higher dimensions. The 3D world is like the screen in a movie theater. It displays images, but it doesn't create them. The creation happens in the projection booth of consciousness. Now, the 4D world is the realm of imagination, assumption, and mental causation. This is where the real creative work happens. In the 4D world, you're not limited by physical laws or external circumstances. Here, you can be anywhere, be anyone, have anything, experience everything. Time and space become fluid. Limitations dissolve. Impossibilities become possibilities. Most people glimpse the 4D world in dreams, daydreams, and moments of deep imagination. But they dismiss these experiences as just fantasy. They don't realize that the 4D world is actually more real than the 3D world because it's the dimension where all 3D experiences are created. When you consciously enter the 4D world through imagination, you're not escaping from reality. You're entering the workshop of reality. Every assumption you make in the 4D world, every scene you imagine, every feeling you generate becomes a cause that must produce corresponding effects in the 3D world. But here's the crucial point. Most people use their 4D faculties unconsciously. They imagine what they don't want, assume the worst about their situations, and feel the reality of their limitations. Then they wonder why their 3D world reflects struggle and lack. Let me tell you about a man who learned to use the 4D world consciously. He was a construction worker who had been injured on the job and told he would never work again. His workers' compensation was minimal. His savings were depleted, and his future looked hopeless from a 3D perspective. But this man understood something profound. He realized that in the 4D world of imagination, he could be completely healed, financially secure, and living his ideal life right now. So every day, he would consciously enter the 4D realm and experience himself as perfectly healthy and abundantly prosperous. In his imagination, he didn't just see himself healed. He felt the strength in his body, the confidence in his movement, the joy of physical vitality. He didn't just visualize wealth. He experienced the security, the freedom, the peace of mind that abundance brings. He made these 4D experiences so vivid and real that they became more compelling than his 3D circumstances. His doctors thought he was delusional. His family worried about his denial of reality. But he knew something they didn't know. He was creating his new reality in the dimension where all realities are born. Within a year, his body had healed in ways that medical science couldn't explain. Within 2 years, he had discovered a talent for real estate investment that made him wealthier than he had ever been as a construction worker. The 4D experiences he had been having in imagination manifested perfectly in his 3D world. Now, beyond both the 3D and 4D worlds lies what I call the 5D world, the dimension of pure being, the I Am consciousness. Your true identity is God experiencing itself as individual awareness. In the 5D world, you're not trying to get anything or become anything because you already are everything. You're not healing yourself because there's nothing wrong with you. You're not manifesting abundance because you are abundance itself. You're not seeking love because you are love expressing as individual consciousness. The 5D world is the realm of pure potential, infinite possibility, and absolute freedom. It's where you exist as the formless awareness in which all forms appear. It's your true home, your original nature, your deepest identity. Most people only glimpse the 5D world in moments of deep meditation, profound love, creative inspiration, or mystical experience. But it's actually the foundation of your being, the ground from which both your 4D imagination and your 3D experience arise. Here's the revolutionary secret. When you learn to live primarily from the 5D consciousness of pure being, both the 4D world of imagination and the 3D world of manifestation become effortless. You're no longer trying to create from limitation. You're expressing from infinite fullness. Let me share a story that illustrates what it means to live from 5D consciousness. A woman came to me who had been battling a serious illness for 7 years. She had tried every medical treatment, every alternative therapy, every manifestation technique. Sometimes she would improve temporarily, but the illness always returned. I said to her, "You're trying to heal yourself from the 4D world of imagination, which is good, but you're still operating from the assumption that you are a person who has an illness. You're trying to imagine yourself becoming healthy instead of recognizing that you are health itself expressing as individual consciousness." She didn't understand, so I explained. In the 5D world of pure being, illness is impossible, because there's nothing separate from perfect wholeness. You're not a body that has consciousness. You're consciousness that appears to have a body. When you truly know yourself as pure consciousness, the body has no choice but to reflect that perfection. I taught her to move beyond visualizing health and into being health itself. Not imagining herself as a healthy person, but recognizing herself as the very consciousness in which the concept of health and illness appear as temporary experiences. This woman learned to identify primarily with her 5D nature as pure, perfect, eternal consciousness. From this identity, she didn't try to heal her body, she simply expressed her true nature, and her body naturally reflected that expression. Within 6 months, every trace of her illness had disappeared. Not through medical intervention, not through 4D visualization, but through 5D recognition of her true nature as perfect consciousness expressing perfectly. Now you might be wondering, how do these 3 dimensions relate to each other? How do you consciously move between them? Think of it this way. The 5D world is like the sun, pure, eternal, unchanging consciousness. The 4D world is like the atmosphere, where consciousness takes on the forms of thoughts, feelings, and imagined experiences. The 3D world is like the earth, where these atmospheric conditions manifest as physical experiences. When you're living primarily from 3D consciousness, you're like someone who only looks at the ground and wonders why it's sometimes sunny and sometimes cloudy. You see effects but not causes. You experience results but don't understand how they're created. When you develop 4D consciousness, you learn to look up and see the atmospheric conditions that create the weather of your experience. You realize you can influence these conditions through imagination and assumption. But when you awaken to 5D consciousness, you realize you are the sun itself, the pure awareness that illuminates all atmospheric conditions and all earthly experiences without being limited by any of them. The secret of conscious creation is learning to operate primarily from the 5D world of pure being, using the 4D world of imagination as your creative medium, and allowing the 3D world to naturally reflect your inner state. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Suppose you desire more money. From 3D consciousness, you focus on getting money through external means, working harder, finding new opportunities, cutting expenses. This often involves struggle, because you're trying to create the cause from the level of effects. From 4D consciousness, you imagine having money, feel the reality of abundance, and assume prosperity is yours. This is much more effective because you're working from the level of causation rather than effects. But from 5D consciousness, you recognize that you are the very abundance you seek. Money becomes not something you need to get, but something you naturally express as consciousness experiencing itself as abundance. The feeling of lack becomes impossible, because you know yourself as the inexhaustible source of all supply. I knew a businessman who mastered this progression. When his company was failing, he initially tried to save it through 3D actions, cutting costs, working longer hours, desperately seeking new clients. These efforts only seemed to make things worse. Then he shifted to 4D consciousness and began imagining his business thriving. He visualized success, felt the reality of prosperity, and assumed his company was valuable and profitable. This helped, and he began to see some improvement. But the real transformation came when he accessed 5D consciousness and recognized himself as the very creativity and abundance that his business was meant to express. He stopped trying to save his business and started being the consciousness that creates successful businesses. From this 5D awareness, innovative ideas flowed effortlessly. Perfect opportunities appeared without struggle. The right people came into his life naturally. His business didn't just recover, it became more successful than he had ever imagined possible. But now the success felt natural and effortless, because it was arising from his true nature, rather than from desperate effort. Understanding these 3 dimensions also explains why some people manifest quickly while others struggle for years with the same desires. Those who manifest quickly are naturally accessing higher dimensions of consciousness. Those who struggle are trying to create from the 3D level of effects. It also explains why some manifestations feel forced and temporary, while others feel natural and permanent. When you create from 3D consciousness, you often have to maintain constant effort to keep your manifestations from dissolving. When you create from 4D consciousness, your manifestations are more stable but may still fluctuate with your mental state. But when you create from 5D consciousness, your manifestations feel natural and permanent because they're expressions of your true nature rather than acquisitions added to your identity. Now, how do you practically develop consciousness of these higher dimensions? How do you learn to live primarily from 4D and 5D awareness rather than being trapped in 3D limitation? First, you must develop what I call dimensional awareness. Throughout your day, ask yourself, which dimension am I operating from right now? Am I reacting to 3D appearances? Am I consciously using my 4D imagination? Am I aware of my 5D nature as pure consciousness? Most people are unconscious of which dimension they're operating from. They slip between dimensions randomly, creating chaotic and inconsistent results in their lives. But when you become conscious of these levels, you can choose to operate from the dimension that serves your highest good. Second, you must practice dimensional shifting. When you catch yourself trapped in 3D consciousness, worried about circumstances, reacting to appearances, feeling limited by external conditions, consciously shift to a higher dimension. Move from 3D to 4D by engaging your imagination. Instead of focusing on what appears to be wrong, imagine what you want to experience. Feel it, see it, hear it in your mind until it becomes more real than your current circumstances. Move from 4D to 5D by recognizing your true nature. Instead of trying to imagine yourself having or becoming something, recognize that you are the consciousness in which all having and becoming takes place. Rest in the awareness of your own being. Third, you must cultivate what I call dimensional loyalty. Make a commitment to live primarily from the highest dimension you can access. When 3D appearances try to pull you down into reactive consciousness, remain loyal to your 4D vision or your 5D awareness. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of this work because the 3D world is constantly demanding your attention and reaction. But every time you choose to respond from a higher dimension rather than react from 3D consciousness, you strengthen your ability to live from elevated awareness. Let me share one final story that illustrates the power of living from multiple dimensions simultaneously. A young woman came to me who wanted to be a professional singer, but had been rejected by every record label and talent agency she approached. From a 3D perspective, her dream seemed impossible. But I taught her to operate from all 3 dimensions consciously. In the 3D world, she continued to practice her craft, perform at small venues, and take practical steps to improve her skills. But she didn't rely solely on 3D actions. In the 4D world, she spent time every day imagining herself as a successful recording artist. She felt the reality of performing on big stages, signing autographs, and hearing her songs on the radio. She made these imaginal experiences so vivid that they became more compelling than her current circumstances. But most importantly, she accessed 5D consciousness and recognized herself as the very creativity and artistic expression she was trying to manifest. She stopped trying to become a successful singer and started being the consciousness that expresses through music. From this 5D awareness, she realized that her value as an artist wasn't dependent on external recognition or commercial success. She was already the perfect expression of musical consciousness, whether anyone else recognized it or not. This shift in consciousness changed everything. Her performances became more authentic and powerful because she was expressing her true nature rather than trying to get something. Her music became more original and inspired because it was flowing from source consciousness rather than imitative effort. Within 18 months, she was discovered by a producer who was drawn to the unique quality of presence she brought to her music. She was signed to a major label not because she had finally convinced someone of her worth, but because she had become so authentic an expression of her true nature that her talent was undeniable. You see, when you learn to operate from all 3 dimensions consciously, miracles become natural. The 3D world becomes not a prison but a playground. The 4D world becomes not an escape but a workshop. The 5D world becomes not a distant goal but your recognized reality. So tonight I want you to begin exploring these dimensions of your own consciousness. Notice where you typically operate from. Practice shifting between levels of awareness. Begin to identify primarily with your 5D nature as pure consciousness while using your 4D imagination to create and allowing your 3D world to reflect your inner state. Remember, you're not trying to escape the 3D world. You're trying to master it by operating from higher dimensions. You're not trying to live only in imagination. You're trying to use imagination consciously to create better physical experiences. You're not trying to disappear into pure being. You're trying to recognize pure being as the foundation from which you can create and experience anything. The 3D world is your canvas, the 4D world is your paintbrush, and the 5D world is the artist. When you know yourself as the artist, the painting becomes a joy rather than a struggle. You are multidimensional beings temporarily focused on one level of experience. Expand your awareness. Claim your full heritage as consciousness itself expressing through multiple dimensions simultaneously. The basement of 3D limitation is not your home. The creative workshop of 4D imagination is available to you. The penthouse of 5D pure being is your true residence. Which floor will you choose to live on? The choice is yours, and the choice determines everything about your experience of life. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
If you're hearing these words, take them as a divine confirmation, not coincidence, not chance. You were meant to find this message right now because you've been praying, waiting, believing, and perhaps wondering if heaven has gone silent. But listen closely. God is not late. He's strategic. When nothing seems to move on the outside, something powerful is shifting on the inside. That calm assurance, that whisper that says, "Hold on," is not your imagination. It's evidence that the invisible world has already begun to move in your favor. The urge to quit often visits right before the blessing manifests. The pressure you feel is not a sign of failure. It's the friction of transformation. The seed always struggles before it breaks the soil. The night is darkest just before the dawn, and the soul feels the heaviest right before the breakthrough. You may think you're standing still, but God is aligning what you cannot see. People, places, opportunities, all being rearranged to fit the blessing with your name on it. He works in suddenlies. One ordinary day can turn into the moment everything changes. But you must not give up before the surprise arrives. Keep believing even when your eyes can't yet confirm it. Because faith is seeing through the invisible until the visible must appear. It is trusting that your inner vision carries more truth than the temporary appearance of delay. Give thanks in advance. Gratitude is not a reaction, it's an activation. When you thank God now for what you cannot yet see, you speed up its arrival, because you are agreeing with heaven that it is already done. Surrender. Release the struggle, not the dream. Let go of control, but never let go of trust. What's coming will make sense of every waiting season, every tear, every delay. The divine surprise that's about to unfold will remind you why you never gave up. So don't lose heart. You're not forgotten. You're being set up for something so sudden, so divine, that when it happens, you'll say, it was worth every second of waiting. Horam. When you begin to feel a quiet assurance within, even when everything on the outside still looks the same, understand that something sacred has already begun. That calm, steady feeling in your heart is not a fantasy or wishful thinking. It is the vibration of creation itself. The unseen world always moves first. Every shift, every miracle, every breakthrough starts as an invisible stirring within your consciousness. The outer world, what you can see and touch, is only a mirror, a delayed reflection of what your spirit has already accepted as true. So when peace begins to replace worry, when faith starts to rise even though the evidence hasn't appeared, that's not denial, that's alignment. You are beginning to harmonize with the higher frequency of what's already yours. The universe always responds to the feeling, not the circumstance. And the moment your inner atmosphere changes, the outer must eventually obey. This is why you must learn to trust your inner signal more than what your senses report. Your physical eyes may tell you nothing is happening, but your spiritual awareness knows better. The invisible is always the parent of the visible. What you feel in the unseen dimension is the blueprint of what's preparing to unfold in time. When you sense that quiet knowing that something is about to happen feeling, it's not random, it's confirmation that your prayer has been heard and answered. That assurance is heaven's signature on your request. The seed has been planted in divine soil, and even though you can't yet see the sprout, it's already alive beneath the surface. The outer world will take its time to reflect it, but the process has already begun. The mistake most people make is doubting the inner signal because they can't yet see outer evidence. They let impatience and fear drown out that whisper of certainty. But the truth is, the moment you feel the shift, you've already crossed the bridge. The rest is just unfolding. The delay between your inner acceptance and outer manifestation is not punishment, it's gestation. Just as the child grows in the womb before it's revealed to the world, so too does your desire grow quietly within your consciousness before it appears in your reality. So do not dismiss the subtle signs, the moments of peace, the flashes of joy, the sudden sense of release. These are not coincidences. They are signals that your inner world has aligned with divine order. When you reach this place, you don't need to push or strive. You only need to rest in faith. The unseen has already moved. The outer world is only catching up to what your spirit already knows. Keep holding that vibration of quiet certainty. Protect it from doubt. Speak life over it, because soon what was invisible will become undeniable. The world will simply rearrange itself to match the truth you've already embraced within. That is how creation works. That is how God moves from the inside out. There comes a moment on every journey when you feel like you've given everything you have. You've prayed, believed, worked, waited, and still nothing seems to move. You begin to wonder if it was all in vain, if maybe the promise wasn't real, if maybe you misunderstood the vision. That is the crossroads where most people turn back, not realizing that the urge to quit is the greatest sign that the manifestation is near. The pressure you feel is not a sign of failure, it's the sign of birth. Something within you is being delivered into form, and every birth requires labor. When life begins to tighten around you, when things start falling apart and confusion rises, that's not punishment, it's transformation. The old version of your life cannot hold the new blessing, so it begins to crumble. What feels like chaos is actually reordering. The discomfort is not meant to break you, but to prepare you for expansion. Every test, Every delay, every closed door is the universe stretching your capacity to receive what's already on its way. It's easy to believe when everything flows smoothly, but real faith is proven in the storm. When your emotions scream, give up, yet something deeper whispers, just hold on. That whisper is the voice of destiny. It knows what your human mind cannot see, that your breakthrough is inches away. The moment before dawn is always the darkest. The pressure in the cocoon is the butterfly's final test before flight. And likewise, the moments that feel most unbearable often mark the threshold of your transformation. You may not realize it, but in those moments of deep exhaustion and doubt, your energy is being refined. You are shedding fear, impatience, and the need to control outcomes. You are learning to trust the unseen, to rest in divine timing, to walk by inner knowing rather than visible progress. That is the essence of manifestation, staying faithful when nothing confirms your faith. Sometimes God allows the tension to increase, not to punish you, but to prove you. He wants to show you that your spirit can endure pressure and still remain anchored in faith. Because only then can you carry the weight of the blessing you've asked for. The promise was never denied, only delayed until your foundation was strong enough to hold it. So when the urge to give up becomes loud, recognize it for what it is, the enemy's last attempt to stop you before the shift. The resistance you feel means the old energy is collapsing. The old story is dying. The illusion of limitation is dissolving. What's uncomfortable right now is clearing space for something greater. Don't quit on the edge of your miracle. The labor pains you're feeling are evidence that birth is near. Stand firm, breathe through the pressure, trust the process. The same force that planted the promise in your heart will bring it into reality. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The breakthrough is not coming, it's already here, waiting for you to hold on just a little longer. Faith is not a feeling that comes when everything looks certain. It is the bridge that carries you when there is no visible way forward. It asks you to walk when the path cannot yet be seen, to trust that every invisible step is leading you toward what has already been promised. Faith is the sacred link between what you feel within and what you eventually see without. It is the power that transforms the unseen into reality, the substance that connects imagination to manifestation. When you hold a vision in your heart, a dream, a desire, a knowing, you are holding the seed of a future already created in the unseen. But that future cannot reveal itself until you dare to believe in it completely, even when the outer evidence seems to mock your hope. This is the test of every creator, to keep walking on the invisible bridge of faith when there is no sign of ground beneath your feet. Each step you take in faith builds the next stone on the bridge. You don't see the full path ahead because it's meant to appear only as you move. Faith doesn't require proof, it creates it. It doesn't wait for the outer world to confirm the inner truth. It declares the truth and watches the world rearrange to match it. When you live from faith, you're no longer reacting to appearances. You are calling things that are not yet visible as though they already are. That is the language of creation. The moment you align your emotions, your words, and your thoughts with what you desire, you activate the bridge. It may feel uncertain at first, but the bridge will always appear beneath your feet when you trust. Many people stand at the edge of faith, waiting for the bridge to show before they take the first step. But that's not how divine movement works. The bridge appears only in motion. The moment you move in belief, the moment you act as though it's already done, life responds. Doors open, paths clear, coincidences align, and the invisible starts to take form. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because your vibration has matched the reality of what you asked for. Faith is not blind. It sees deeper. It sees beyond the temporary and into the eternal truth that everything you seek already exists in potential form. It's the assurance that you are never walking alone, that the unseen hand of God is guiding your steps, even when you cannot trace the pattern. So keep walking. Even when the bridge trembles beneath you, even when the fog hides the destination, keep moving forward. Every act of faith pulls the unseen closer into the visible. The world will eventually catch up to what your heart already knows, that what you seek was never far from you. It was waiting on the other side of belief. Faith is the bridge, and the moment you choose to walk it, the miracle begins to unfold. There are moments in life when everything seems still, when the prayers you've prayed feel unanswered, and progress appears frozen. You wait, you believe, and yet nothing seems to move. But the truth is, God does not work according to human time. He works in divine timing, and his movements are often hidden until the perfect moment. When that moment arrives, it happens suddenly. The very thing that seemed impossible can shift in an instant. One divine touch, one connection, one unexpected turn can rewrite your entire story. God specializes in suddenlies. In a single moment, the direction of your life can change completely. What took years to prepare can manifest in seconds, because heaven has no delay, only divine order. You may not see the process, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Beneath the surface of stillness, God is orchestrating details, aligning people, and preparing circumstances you could never have arranged yourself. Every delay has purpose. Every detour has meaning. What looks like a standstill is often a sacred setup for a sudden breakthrough. Nudge, concentrate hard, croissant, villon. Think of how night gives way to dawn. The darkness seems endless, but suddenly the sky begins to glow. The light doesn't crawl in gradually. It bursts forth at the exact appointed hour. That's how divine timing works. When it's your time, no force on earth can stop what God has ordained. The years of waiting are never wasted. They are the foundation for the moment of sudden release. Sometimes God keeps you in a waiting season not to punish you, but to protect what he's preparing. If he moved too soon, the blessing could overwhelm you. If he answered before you were ready, you might mishandle the miracle. So he waits until the timing aligns perfectly, until your character matches your calling, until your heart is prepared to carry what you asked for. And then, when everything is in position, he moves swiftly. What once felt delayed suddenly feels accelerated. The key is to stay faithful in the unseen. Even when you can't detect movement, know that something divine is taking shape. Heaven's silence is never absence, it's strategy. God hides his greatest works until they are ready to be revealed. The walls you face today could collapse tomorrow without warning. The opportunity you've been praying for could appear in a single phone call, a chance meeting, or an unexpected open door. So do not grow weary in the waiting. The suddenly of God can enter any moment, In the blink of an eye, everything can change. Stay expectant, keep your heart open, live as if the miracle could appear today because it can. The years of endurance are never forgotten. They are the preparation for divine acceleration. When God moves, He moves quickly, and when He moves for you, the impossible becomes inevitable. And when He moves for you, the impossible becomes inevitable. One divine suddenly can accomplish more than a lifetime of striving. Gratitude is more than a polite response or a spiritual gesture. It is a powerful force that accelerates creation. When you give thanks not merely for what you can see, but for what you have yet to receive, you are declaring to the universe that you already possess it in essence. This is the language of faith. Gratitude in advance is faith made visible. It is the vibration that tells heaven, I trust the promise so deeply that I'm celebrating before the manifestation arrives. That energy magnetizes what you seek and draws it into your reality with divine speed. Most people give thanks only after the blessing has appeared, but the true key to acceleration lies in giving thanks before you see evidence. When you shift into that state of appreciation, you are no longer asking from lack. You are affirming from abundance. You are saying, it is already done. Gratitude lifts you from the frequency of waiting to the frequency of receiving. It transforms your energy from hoping to knowing, from pleading to possessing. And the moment you reach that inner certainty, the outer world has no choice but to align with it. Gratitude is faith in motion because it moves energy. It opens doors that effort alone could never unlock. It softens resistance and dissolves delay. When you give thanks for something unseen, you are essentially commanding it into form, because gratitude is agreement with the unseen reality of your answered prayer. You become a co-creator with God, allowing His goodness to flow through you rather than waiting passively for it to appear. Even science acknowledges that gratitude changes the chemistry of the body. It relaxes the nervous system, expands the heart, and sharpens awareness. Spiritually, it does even more. It expands your capacity to receive. You cannot receive what you resent or fear, but you can quickly attract what you appreciate. When your heart vibrates with thanksgiving, you become a magnet for more to be thankful for. The moment you wake up and choose gratitude, even before the evidence appears, you are shifting timelines. You are saying to the universe, I am already in possession of my miracle. That declaration begins to rearrange your circumstances to reflect that truth. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open, opportunities appear, and divine coincidences start to unfold. Gratitude turns waiting into welcoming. So if you are believing for something right now, stop asking from a place of lack. Begin to thank God that it is already done. Feel the joy as though it has already arrived. Speak words of appreciation before your eyes confirm it. That is how gratitude accelerates manifestation. It bridges the unseen and the seen through the power of trust. The more you thank, the faster things move. The more you celebrate, the sooner you see. Gratitude is not the result of manifestation, it is the catalyst. When you live in that vibration, miracles can no longer be delayed because you have already become the match for what you desire. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness or resignation, but in truth, it is one of the highest forms of spiritual strength. To surrender is not to give up, it is to give over, to release control and trust that the divine has already gone before you. It is an act of confidence, not defeat. When you surrender, you are saying, I believe that everything concerning me is already settled in perfect order. You stop wrestling with uncertainty and begin to flow with divine timing. The human mind craves control. It wants to predict outcomes, manage timing, and dictate how things should unfold. But the more we try to force life, the more resistance we create. Surrender dissolves that resistance. It allows the energy of life to move freely again. The moment you stop grasping, you make space for grace. You open the door for God to do what you could never accomplish through striving. Surrender is a declaration of faith. It says, I don't need to see how this will work out to know that it will. It is the willingness to trust the unseen orchestration happening behind the curtain of your current circumstances. When you let go, you discover that the outcome was never in question. Only your peace was. What you release into God's hands always returns to you, transformed and multiplied. This doesn't mean you stop taking action or caring about your dreams. It means you stop acting from fear. You no longer chase outcomes or cling to expectations. Instead, you act from alignment, from peace, from trust. You do what you can and you allow the rest to unfold naturally. You begin to understand that divine timing is not delay, it's precision. What you think is late is often right on time in the higher order of things. Many of the frustrations you faced were never denials. They were divine protections. The closed doors, the redirections, the pauses, all of them were aligning you with something better, something you couldn't yet see. When you surrender, you begin to perceive that every delay carried purpose. The divine surprise you've been praying for was never postponed. It was being perfectly prepared. Surrender is strength because it restores your inner stability. It lifts the weight of control from your shoulders and places it where it belongs, in the hands of the infinite. In that release, peace floods your being. You become calm, centered, and receptive. The moment you stop fighting against what is, you align with what's meant to be. The irony of surrender is that once you let go, the very thing you desired begins to move toward you effortlessly, because resistance blocks flow and trust invites it. When you let go, you create a vacuum that the universe rushes to fill. The miracle you are chasing begins to chase you. So breathe, loosen your grip. Trust that what's for you cannot miss you. The timing is not delayed, it's divine. The moment you surrender, life begins to move with power, precision, and grace. What once felt heavy will suddenly feel light. Because surrender is not weakness. It is the quiet strength that allows miracles to find their way home to you. Every moment of waiting, every test of faith, every unseen shift was leading you here, to the realization that nothing in your life has been wasted. Every delay was divine. Every challenge was preparation. Every silence from heaven was strategy. You have been guided, refined, and strengthened for this exact season. The signal has already gone out in the unseen. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Remember, the quiet assurance within you means the shift has already begun. The pressure you feel is the sign of birth, not defeat. Faith is still the bridge between your inner knowing and your outer reality. God still works in the realm of suddenlies, turning years of waiting into moments of wonder. Gratitude still accelerates miracles, and surrender still invites divine power to move on your behalf. So hold your peace. Stay rooted in faith. Keep walking. even when the way ahead looks invisible, because when God moves, he moves swiftly. And when he reveals what he's been preparing for you, you will understand why you were called to wait, why you were tested, and why you could never give up. If you're seeing this, it's not by accident. This is your confirmation that the blessing is already in motion. Stay faithful, stay thankful, and watch how quickly everything turns in your favor. Thank you for listening, and remember, don't give up now. God is about to surprise you.
Your world is but a mirror reflecting back to you the state of your consciousness. If you wish to experience the life of the wealthy, you must first assume the consciousness of wealth not as a dream, not as something distant, but as your present reality. To act rich is not to mimic the habits of the wealthy. It is to dwell in the feeling of abundance so completely that your outer world has no choice but to conform. The mind conditioned by lack will always seek evidence of limitation, counting what is missing, fearing what is uncertain. But one who knows the truth walks in a different way. Wealthy people are not burdened by thoughts of scarcity. They move with certainty not because they wait for proof, but because they carry within them an unshakable knowing. They do not chase money. They believe it flows to them effortlessly. It is this inner conviction that bends reality in their favor. Look at your daily actions, your thoughts, your words. Are they aligned with the wealth you claim to desire? One who knows their fortune does not speak of how hard life is, how expensive things are, how impossible it seems. They speak from abundance, not towards it. They expect the finest not because they demand it, but because it is natural for them to receive. There is no effort in this, no need to force, no need to struggle. The way you see yourself determines the way the world sees you. If you carry yourself as one who lacks, your reality will reflect lack. If you carry yourself as one who already possesses, all things will rearrange themselves to match that assumption. Change does not come from working harder, from grasping at more, from waiting for something external to shift. It comes from dwelling persistently in the feeling of already having. Spend time in the silence of your mind, constructing the life you desire in vivid detail, not as a wish, but as a certainty. Feel the weight of luxury in your hands. Hear the sounds of wealth around you. Move through the world as one who has arrived. The moment you accept this as your truth, your world must bend to it. Wealth is not something outside of you, waiting to be attained. It is a state of mind, a feeling, a knowing that exists within you right now. To assume the consciousness of wealth means to think, feel, and move through the world as if you are already rich, as if abundance is your natural state. This is not about pretending or playing a role. It is about a deep inner shift, a transformation of your awareness that alters the reality you experience. Most people believe that wealth is something to be earned, struggled for, or obtained through external means. They place it outside of themselves, thinking that if only they worked harder, found the right opportunity, or met the right people, then they would become wealthy. But this is an illusion. The truth is that the world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. What you hold as true within yourself is what materializes in your life. If you see yourself as someone who lacks, if you feel the weight of limitation, then your world will mirror that back to you. If, however, you shift your awareness to one of wealth, if you truly believe and feel that you are already abundant, then reality has no choice but to conform. This is not about wishful thinking. It is not about looking at your bank account, seeing emptiness, and saying, "I am rich," while feeling nothing but doubt. It is about embodying the feeling of wealth so completely that you no longer seek evidence of it outside of you. You do not need the world to confirm it first. You confirm it within yourself, and then the world reshapes itself accordingly. Look at those who are truly wealthy, those for whom abundance is effortless. Their actions, their words, their very presence communicate a deep sense of certainty. They do not hesitate when opportunities arise. They do not speak of lack or struggle. They do not worry about how things will come to them. They simply know that they will. This is not because they were born into privilege or had some special advantage. It is because they have conditioned their minds to accept wealth as their reality. To assume the consciousness of wealth, you must train yourself to think as the wealthy think, to feel as they feel. This begins with awareness. Notice your habitual thoughts about money, abundance, and success. Do you see money as something hard to earn? Do you believe that wealth is reserved for others but not for you? Do you feel tension or fear when you think about financial matters? These beliefs are shaping your reality. If you wish to change your experience, you must change the way you think and feel. Start by immersing yourself in the feeling of already having what you desire. Close your eyes and imagine a life of unlimited abundance. See yourself moving through the world with ease, never questioning whether you can afford something, never feeling restricted. How does it feel to know that money flows to you effortlessly? How does it feel to be completely free from financial worry? Dwell in this state as often as you can until it becomes second nature. This is not about living in denial of your current circumstances. It is about shifting your inner reality so that your outer world must follow. The mistake most people make is waiting for proof before they believe. They say, "I will feel wealthy once I have money," but it does not work this way. The feeling must come first. You must act, think, and feel like a rich person before the evidence appears. It is not the money that makes one wealthy. It is the consciousness of wealth that attracts the money. Observe the way the wealthy carry themselves. They walk with confidence, not because they have money, but because they know they belong in the world of abundance. They do not hesitate when making financial decisions, not because they never experience loss, but because they trust in their ability to create more. They do not live in fear of running out, because their internal state tells them that there is always more. This is the essence of the consciousness of wealth. To cultivate this mindset, begin by shifting your language. Eliminate words of lack from your vocabulary. Do not speak of things being too expensive. Do not say, "I cannot afford that," or "money is hard to come by." These words reinforce a consciousness of lack. Instead, speak as one who always has enough. Even if your external reality has not yet shifted, discipline yourself to speak from abundance. When faced with a financial decision, instead of saying, "I don't have enough," say, "I choose to spend my money differently right now." This small shift keeps you in a state of power rather than one of limitation. Beyond words, practice the physicality of wealth. Move through the world as if you already have all that you need. If you were truly rich, how would you carry yourself? Would you walk with hesitation or with certainty? Would you shrink in discomfort or expand with confidence? Embody the posture, the breath, the ease of a person who knows they are abundant. This does not mean reckless spending or pretending to be someone you are not. It means aligning your inner world with the truth you wish to manifest. A wealthy person does not worry over every purchase, does not stress over bills, does not feel unworthy of luxury. Begin living in this state now and watch as reality molds itself around your new consciousness. Gratitude is another key to shifting into the consciousness of wealth. The mind that focuses on what is missing will always experience lack, no matter how much it accumulates. But the mind that focuses on abundance, on the riches already present, will attract more of the same. Every day, find evidence of wealth in your life. Perhaps it is the roof over your head, the food on your table, the opportunities that come your way. Acknowledge them, give thanks for them, and in doing so, you align yourself with the frequency of abundance. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. It is a state of mind. There are those who have millions and still live in fear, and there are those who possess very little yet feel limitless. The difference is in their consciousness. True wealth is the deep knowing that you are always provided for, that there is always enough, that abundance is your birthright. When you assume this consciousness, money ceases to be something you chase. It becomes something that flows to you effortlessly as a reflection of your inner state. To assume the consciousness of wealth is to no longer see yourself as someone who lacks. It is to walk in the world with a quiet confidence of one who knows their fortune is inevitable. It is to expect abundance, not as a possibility, but as an unshakable truth. It is to live now as the person you wish to become, knowing that in doing so, you are not pretending, you are creating. The moment you fully accept this state, the world has no choice but to respond in kind. Many people believe that they must first acquire money before they can feel wealthy. But this is a misunderstanding. It is not the money that creates the feeling. It is the feeling that creates the money. If you feel lack, if you feel desperation, if you feel unworthy, then no matter how much money you acquire, it will never be enough. But if you cultivate the feeling of abundance now, before any external changes occur, then money will flow to you effortlessly. This is why some people seem to attract wealth so easily while others struggle, no matter how hard they work. It is not effort alone that determines financial success. It is the consciousness behind the effort. When you move from a place of abundance, opportunities seem to come out of nowhere. Doors open where before there were only walls. People are drawn to you, eager to help, eager to collaborate, eager to bring you into new circles of influence. But when you operate from a place of lack, everything feels like a struggle. You feel as though you are constantly pushing, constantly chasing, constantly trying to catch up. This is because your inner state is one of insufficiency, and the world is merely reflecting that back to you. The shift must happen first, within. You must stop seeing wealth as something outside of you and begin to embody it now. Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you desire, not just the physical manifestations, but the feelings that come with them. Feel the confidence, the security, the freedom. Let it sink into your bones. Let it become part of you. Walk through the world as if this is already your reality. Speak as if you are already successful. Make choices as if you are already abundant. When you do this consistently, the world will bend to match your inner state. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive is not external circumstances. It is perception. It is belief. It is the energy they carry. The truly wealthy do not stress over money because they know it is always flowing. They do not cling to every dollar in fear of losing it. They trust in the circulation of wealth, knowing that whatever they give will return to them multiplied. This trust is what allows them to take bold actions, to invest in themselves, to say yes to opportunities without hesitation. If you find yourself hesitating, questioning whether you deserve abundance, worrying about whether money will come, then you are reinforcing a state of lack. You must shift your inner dialogue. You must begin to affirm your wealth, not just in words, but in the way you move through life. When you sit down at a restaurant, do not look at the prices first. Look at what you truly desire. When you make a purchase, do not do so with fear. Do so with the assurance that money is always flowing to you. When you see others succeed, do not feel envy. Feel excitement, knowing that their success is proof of what is possible for you. Your mind is the foundation of your wealth. If you train it to expect abundance, abundance will come. If you train it to see opportunities, opportunities will appear. If you train it to embody success, success will manifest. But if you allow fear, doubt, and scarcity to take hold, then that is what you will experience. The choice is always yours. This shift is not about external displays of wealth. It is not about buying things to prove your status. True wealth is quiet, assured, and unshaken by appearances. It is an inner state of complete security, knowing that you are always provided for, that you are always supported, that the universe is always conspiring in your favor. This is the energy that attracts money, success, and opportunities effortlessly. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before you adopt this mindset. You can begin now. The moment you start embodying the energy of abundance, the world will start to reflect it back to you. You do not need to force anything. You only need to align with the frequency of wealth, and it will come to you naturally. This is the secret that those who truly understand abundance have mastered. They do not chase, they attract. They do not hope, they know. They do not wait, they claim. The moment you decide that you are already wealthy, the world has no choice but to mirror that back to you. Your only job is to align your inner world with the abundance you see, to protect your energy, to focus only on what elevates you, to refuse to engage in anything that does not serve your highest vision. The moment you commit to this way of being, you will begin to see the world shift in your favor. Opportunities will arise, money will flow, success will feel effortless, not because you are chasing it, but because you have finally become it.
My dear friends, I want to begin tonight with a question that will determine the entire trajectory of your life. Who do you assume yourself to be? Not who you hope to become, not who you're working toward being, but who, in the depths of your consciousness, do you assume yourself to be right now, in this very moment? You see, most people believe they are victims of circumstance, prisoners of their past, or slaves to their conditions. But I tell you tonight with absolute certainty, you are none of these things. You are the operant power of your world, the author of your experience, the God of your reality. The principle I'm about to share with you is so simple that the intellectual mind often dismisses it, yet so profound that when properly understood and applied, it can transform your entire existence in ways that will seem miraculous to those who don't understand the law. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this principle perfectly. A young man once approached me, desperate and defeated. He had lost his job. His girlfriend had left him, and he was facing eviction from his apartment. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Neville, I'm cursed. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm just unlucky." I stopped him right there. "My friend," I said, "you have just revealed to me the source of all your troubles. It's not that you're unlucky, it's that you assume you're unlucky. And assumption, my dear friend, is the foundation of all creation. You see, assumption is not mere wishful thinking or positive affirmation. Assumption is the acceptance of something as true, regardless of evidence to the contrary. It is the feeling of certainty that what you desire already exists in the invisible realm of consciousness, waiting to be made manifest in your physical world. Every state of consciousness has its own unique feeling tone, its own vibrational signature. When you assume the state of being wealthy, you naturally feel abundant, secure, and generous. When you assume the state of being loved, you feel cherished, appreciated, and valued. When you assume the state of being healthy, you feel vital, energetic, and whole. The secret, and this is crucial, is that you must feel the reality of your assumption before you see the evidence of it. Now let me tell you about that young man I mentioned. Instead of focusing on his problems, I taught him to focus on his assumption. I asked him, what kind of person do you want to be? I want to be successful, confident, and prosperous, he replied. Then that is what you must assume yourself to be right now, regardless of your current circumstances. For the next week, every morning upon waking, and every evening before sleep, he would close his eyes and feel himself to be the successful, confident, prosperous man he desired to be. He would imagine walking into his own office, signing important contracts, depositing large checks at the bank. But most importantly, he would feel the naturalness of being that person. And here's what happened. Within 10 days, a former colleague contacted him about a business opportunity. Within 3 weeks, he had his first client. Within 2 months, he had moved into a beautiful new apartment. Within 4 months, he was running his own consultancy and earning more money than he had ever made in his life. Was this luck? Was this coincidence? Absolutely not. This was the law of assumption in perfect operation. But let me be very clear about something that trips up many people. When I speak of feeling, I'm not talking about emotion or excitement. I'm talking about the deep inner conviction, the sense of naturalness that comes from truly accepting something as already accomplished. Think of it this way. How do you feel about your own name? You don't get excited about it. You don't hope it's really yours. You don't work to make it yours. You simply, naturally assume it to be yours. This is the kind of feeling you must have about your desired state. Here's another story that will demonstrate this perfectly. A woman came to me once, desperate to heal her relationship with her estranged son. They hadn't spoken in 5 years after a bitter argument. She had tried everything: letters, phone calls, reaching out through other family members. Nothing worked. I told her to stop trying to make it happen, and instead to assume it had already happened. Every night, she would imagine receiving a loving phone call from her son. She would hear his voice, full of warmth and affection. She would feel the joy of their reconciliation. She would assume the feeling of being a mother whose son adored her. She persisted in this assumption for 3 weeks. Then, on a Tuesday morning, her phone rang. It was her son calling to say he'd been thinking about her and wanted to rebuild their relationship. And here's the part that will really grab your attention. He told her he had been having dreams about her for weeks. Dreams where they were happy together, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to call her. You see, when you change your assumption about yourself, you change your entire world. Everyone and everything in your world must rearrange itself to conform to your new assumption. Now I know some of you are thinking, but Neville, how is this possible? How can my assumptions affect other people? Let me explain something that will revolutionize your understanding of reality. There is only one consciousness, and you are it. What you call other people are simply different aspects of your own consciousness being reflected back to you. When you assume that people love and respect you, you will find that people begin treating you with love and respect. When you assume that opportunities are always opening for you, you will find opportunities appearing everywhere. When you assume that you are healthy and vital, your body will begin to reflect that assumption. This is not theory. This is law. It operates with the same precision as the law of gravity. Assume something persistently, and it must manifest in your world. Let me share another fascinating example. A businessman once told me he wanted to double his income. I asked him, what would you do if your income were already doubled? He thought for a moment and said, I would buy a new car, move to a better neighborhood, and take my family on a luxury vacation. Then assume you've already done these things, I told him. Feel yourself driving that new car. Feel yourself living in that better neighborhood. Feel yourself enjoying that luxury vacation with your family. He began to assume the feeling of having double his income. He would visualize making larger deposits at the bank, signing bigger contracts, living the lifestyle that such income would provide. But most importantly, he maintained the feeling of being a man who naturally earned that much money. And here's the remarkable part. Within 6 months, Not only had his income doubled, but it had tripled. New clients seemed to appear out of nowhere. Investment opportunities presented themselves. Even unexpected windfalls came his way. But let me warn you about something that destroys the power of assumption for most people. It's inconsistency. You cannot assume wealth on Monday and poverty on Tuesday. You cannot assume health in the morning and illness in the evening. You cannot assume love when you feel good and rejection when you feel bad. Your assumption must be constant and unwavering. I once knew a woman who wanted to attract her ideal romantic partner. She would spend her mornings imagining herself in a beautiful, loving relationship. She would feel cherished, adored, and completely fulfilled. But then, during the day, whenever she saw happy couples, she would think, that will never happen to me. I'm not attractive enough. All the good men are taken. Do you see what she was doing? She was giving with one hand and taking away with the other. She was assuming love in the morning and loneliness during the day. The result? Nothing changed in her life, because her assumptions were canceling each other out. But here's how she turned it around. And this technique will work for you too. I taught her the art of living from the end. Instead of thinking about her desire, she learned to think from her desire. Instead of hoping for love, she assumed she was already loved. Whenever she caught herself thinking thoughts of lack or loneliness, she would immediately redirect her attention to the feeling of being in her ideal relationship. She would ask herself, how would I think if I were already loved? How would I behave if I were already in my perfect relationship? Within 2 months, she met a man who embodied every quality she had been imagining. They're now happily married. Now, let me share with you the most revolutionary truth you'll ever hear. You are already the person you want to be. In the infinite realm of consciousness, every possible version of yourself already exists. There is a version of you that is wealthy, a version that is healthy, a version that is loved, a version that is successful. Your job is not to create these versions. They already exist. Your job is to assume the feeling of being them. Think of it like this. Imagine consciousness as a vast wardrobe filled with an infinite number of garments. Each garment represents a different state of being. Right now, you're wearing the garment of your current state. If you want to experience a different state, you simply need to change your garment. Change your assumption. The wealthy version of you isn't something you need to become in the future. It exists right now, in this moment, in the realm of pure possibility. When you assume the feeling of being that wealthy person, you literally step into that version of yourself. Let me give you a powerful technique to do this. Close your eyes right now and imagine that you are already everything you want to be. Don't think about how you'll get there or when it will happen. Simply assume that you are already there. Feel the satisfaction of having achieved your goals. Feel the joy of being the person you've always wanted to be. Feel the peace that comes from knowing that all your desires are already fulfilled. This feeling, this is your prayer. This is your creative power. This is how you change your world. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds wonderful, Neville, but how do I apply this practically? How do I maintain this assumption when my circumstances seem to contradict it? Here's the secret. You must be willing to live by an inner conviction rather than by outer appearances. Your senses will tell you that nothing has changed. Your bank account will show the same numbers. Your mirror will reflect the same appearance. Your relationships will seem the same, but you must persist in your assumption, despite the evidence of your senses. Remember, your senses only show you the past, the results of your former assumptions. They cannot show you the future, the results of your new assumption. That's why it takes faith to live by assumption, rather than by sight. Let me share a technique that will help you maintain your assumption. Every time you encounter evidence that contradicts your desired state, instead of reacting to it, revise it. If you want to be wealthy but receive a bill you can't pay, don't accept that experience. In your imagination, revise the scene. See yourself easily paying the bill, even having money left over. Feel the satisfaction of financial abundance. If you want to be healthy but feel symptoms of illness, don't accept that experience. In your imagination, revise the scene. See yourself feeling vibrant and energetic. Feel the joy of perfect health. This isn't denial. This is revision. You're not pretending that unwanted circumstances don't exist. You're rewriting them in consciousness, which is the only place where change can originate. And now let me share with you the ultimate secret. The one that very few people understand. The person you assume yourself to be is not just who you become. It's who you've always been. Your true self is not limited by your past, your circumstances, or your conditions. Your true self is the unlimited, infinite consciousness that can assume any state, experience any reality, become any person. When you assume a new state, you're not becoming someone different. You're revealing who you truly are beneath all the false assumptions you've accepted about yourself. The person you want to be is not a stranger. It's your true self, that confident, successful, loved, healthy, prosperous person you dream of being. That's not someone you need to become. That's who you really are, underneath all the limiting beliefs and false assumptions. Now, let me walk you through the exact process of transformation. Step 1. Know what you want. Be specific. Don't say, I want to be successful. Say, I want to be a best-selling author, or I want to own a thriving business, or I want to be in perfect health. Step 2. Construct a scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. This should be a simple, natural scene that would happen if your desire were already a reality. Perhaps it's a friend congratulating you on your success, or you looking at your bank statement with satisfaction, or feeling the energy of perfect health. Step 3. Enter the scene in imagination. See it clearly. Hear the sounds. Feel the emotions. Make it as vivid and real as possible. Step 4. Capture the feeling. This is the most important part. How would you feel if this scene were really happening right now? Capture that feeling of satisfaction, joy, relief, or gratitude. Step 5. Assume that feeling throughout your day. Whenever you think about your desire, return to that feeling. Live from the assumption that it has already happened. Step 6. Persist until it feels natural. Keep assuming this new state until it becomes your dominant assumption about yourself. Let me share a personal example. Years ago, I wanted to speak to larger audiences about these principles. At the time, I was speaking to small groups of perhaps 20 or 30 people, but I assumed the feeling of addressing thousands. I would imagine standing before a vast audience, feeling the energy of hundreds of people hanging on every word. I would hear the applause, feel the satisfaction of sharing these truths with so many people. Most importantly, I would assume the feeling of being someone who naturally spoke to large audiences. I persisted in this assumption for months. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, invitations began arriving. Radio stations wanted interviews. Larger venues offered speaking opportunities. Publishers became interested in my work. The result, I began speaking to audiences of hundreds, then thousands. But here's the key. It didn't feel like a miracle or a stroke of luck. It felt natural, because I had already been assuming it to be true. But what about doubt? What do you do when doubt creeps in? When your mind tells you this is impossible? When logic says your assumptions are just fantasies? Here's what you do. You remember that doubt is just another assumption. If you can assume limitation, you can assume possibility. If you can assume failure, you can assume success. If you can assume sickness, you can assume health. Doubt has no more power than belief. They're both just assumptions. The question is, which assumption serves you better? I once had a student who wanted to heal from a serious illness. The doctors had given him a poor prognosis, and everyone around him was preparing for the worst. But he chose to assume perfect health. Every time doubt arose, he would say to himself, I can assume sickness, or I can assume health. I choose health. He would return to the feeling of being completely well, vital, and energetic. His doctors called his recovery a miracle. But it wasn't a miracle, it was assumption. Here's something that will fascinate you. When you change your assumption about yourself, everything and everyone in your world changes to match that new assumption. It's like dropping a stone into a still pond. The ripples spread outward, affecting everything in their path. Your new assumption creates ripples that transform your entire reality. People will treat you differently without knowing why. Opportunities will appear that seemed impossible before. Circumstances will rearrange themselves to support your new assumption. This isn't manipulation. its law. When you change your inner world, your outer world must change to match it. But how long does it take? This is the question everyone asks. The answer is, it takes as long as it takes for your assumption to feel natural to you. Some assumptions feel natural immediately. Others take time to fully accept. The key is persistence. Keep assuming your desired state until it becomes your dominant assumption about yourself. Don't set deadlines. Don't demand that your assumption manifest by a certain date. Simply persist in the feeling of already being what you want to be, and let the law work in its own perfect timing. The secret to successful assumption is learning to live from the end. Instead of living from your current circumstances and hoping to reach your goal, live from your goal and let your circumstances adjust to meet you there. If you want to be wealthy, think like a wealthy person thinks. Feel what a wealthy person feels. Act as a wealthy person would act, within reason and without going into debt. If you want to be loved, feel loved right now. Think like someone who is cherished thinks. Behave like someone who knows they are worthy of love. If you want to be successful, assume the feeling of success. Think like a successful person thinks. Feel what success feels like in your body. This isn't pretending. This is assuming. This is recognizing that the person you want to be already exists within you, waiting to be assumed. Pay attention to your inner conversation, the constant stream of thoughts running through your mind. What are you assuming about yourself in your thoughts? What story are you telling yourself about who you are and what's possible for you? Your inner conversation is creating your outer experience. If your inner conversation is full of lack, limitation, and impossibility, that's what you'll experience. If your inner conversation assumes abundance, possibility, and success, that's what you'll manifest. Change your inner conversation, and you change your life. Instead of thinking, I hope this works, think, I know this is already done. Instead of thinking, maybe I can be successful, think, I am successful. Instead of thinking, I wish I could be healthy, think, I am perfectly healthy. There's another crucial element that will accelerate your transformation: gratitude. But I'm not talking about being grateful for what you hope to receive. I'm talking about being grateful for what you assume you already have. When you assume your desire is already fulfilled, gratitude becomes a natural response. How do you feel when someone gives you exactly what you want? You feel grateful. This is the gratitude you should feel for your assumption. Every night before sleep, feel grateful for the fulfillment of your desires. Thank the universe, thank God, thank life itself for already giving you everything you've assumed to be yours. This gratitude is not a technique. It's a natural response to the recognition that your desires are already fulfilled in consciousness. And now let me share the final secret, the one that will set you free forever. You are not trying to get anything. You are not trying to become anyone. You are simply recognizing what is already true in the infinite realm of consciousness. Every desire you have is already fulfilled somewhere in consciousness. Every person you want to be already exists. Every experience you want to have is already available. Your only job is to assume the state of consciousness where these things are already true. This is not work. This is recognition. This is not effort. This is acceptance. This is not becoming. This is being. So here is my challenge to you. Choose one desire, one goal, one aspect of yourself you want to transform. Tonight, before you sleep, assume the feeling of already being that person. Don't hope for it. Don't work for it. Don't pray for it. Assume it. Feel the naturalness of being that person. Feel the satisfaction of having that experience. Feel the joy of living that reality. And then tomorrow, live from that assumption. Think like that person thinks. Feel like that person feels. Act like that person acts. Persist in this assumption no matter what your senses tell you. Your transformation is not a future event. It's a present reality waiting to be assumed. Remember, you are not limited by your past, your circumstances, or your conditions. You are not a victim of anything or anyone. You are the operant power of your world, the author of your experience,
the creator of your reality. The person you want to be is not someone you will become. It's who you already are. Assume it, feel it, live it, be it, and watch as your entire world transforms to reflect this new assumption. The power is within you. The time is now. Your new life is waiting for you to assume it. Now go forth and create the life you were born to live. Remember, assumption is the foundation of all manifestation. What you assume to be true about yourself and your world becomes your reality. Choose your assumptions wisely, for they are the building blocks of your destiny.
If you have arrived at this moment, if these words have reached you, it is not an accident. Life is not random, and God does not deal in coincidences. When you are guided to something at the exact time you need it, it is because movement is happening in the unseen. Something is stirring, something is shifting, something is aligning for you. You may not see the full picture yet. You may still be surrounded by situations that look unchanged. But listen closely. The invisible always shifts before the visible. What you are feeling right now, the inner pull, the quiet reassurance, the subtle sense that something is coming, is the proof. God moves first in the silence of your inner world before revealing anything in your outer world. When life gets heavy, when the waiting feels endless, when the battle seems unfair, it's easy to believe nothing is changing. But the truth is this: your persistence is creating the very change you long to see. Every time you choose faith over fear, you are rewriting the script of your life. Every time you entertain a higher thought, a better vision, a bold assumption of what can be, you are stepping into alignment with the reality that is already yours in the spiritual realm. Do not underestimate the power of what you imagine. Your inner world is not a place of fantasy. It is where creation begins. Whatever you accept as true within, whatever you feel deeply, whatever you boldly claim in your heart, that becomes the seed God waters. And even when the soil of your life looks dry, even when nothing seems to be sprouting, the roots are growing beneath the surface. You are closer than you think. Sometimes the greatest movement happens during the seasons that feel the most still. Sometimes the loudest answer is given through silence. Sometimes the biggest breakthrough comes disguised as disappointment. But every moment is purposeful. Every setback contains a setup. Every closed door redirects you to something higher. And right now, even if you cannot see it, God is guiding the pieces of your life into place. He is softening hearts, opening paths, shifting circumstances, and preparing opportunities you couldn't have arranged on your own. The things that feel delayed are not denied. They are being perfected. So don't give up. Do not surrender your vision just because it hasn't appeared yet. Do not abandon your faith because the evidence is still invisible. What you are carrying within you is more real than what you are seeing around you. Your assumption of victory, healing, abundance, reconciliation, or breakthrough is the signal to the universe that you are ready. Keep holding the feeling of what you want. Keep walking as if it's already done. Keep believing the whisper inside you more than the noise around you. This is the moment that separates those who receive from those who retreat. Your current challenges are not signs of failure, punishment, or abandonment. They are evidence that something greater is being formed within you. Every difficult season contains a hidden invitation to rise into a stronger, clearer, more powerful version of yourself. When life feels heavy, when obstacles appear out of nowhere, when circumstances stretch your patience and test your faith, it's not because you are breaking down, it's because you are breaking open. You are being shaped for something you cannot yet see. And the pressure you are feeling is the pressure of transformation. Think about how gold is refined. It is placed in fire not to destroy it, but to reveal its purity. Seeds must break underground before they can reach sunlight. Even the child in the womb experiences the tightest pressure right before entering a new world. Creation always requires discomfort. Growth always requires stretching. And every challenge that confronts you right now is doing more than simply presenting a problem. It is preparing your spirit for expansion. You may feel tired, overwhelmed, or uncertain, but beneath that surface emotion, strength is being built. When you choose to keep going, even when everything in you wants to stop, resilience is being formed. When you decide to believe that something good can still come out of this, clarity is being formed. When you persist, even in the midst of doubt, the foundation of your inner world is being rebuilt with deeper faith. These moments of pressure are forging qualities you will need for the blessing that is already on its way to you. It is easy to trust when life is smooth. It is easy to believe when doors open effortlessly. But it is in the challenging seasons that your spiritual muscles develop. These are the moments when you learn to listen inwardly instead of reacting to appearances. This is when you discover that your imagination is more powerful than your environment. This is when you begin to understand that you can choose your inner state even when your outer world feels chaotic. The challenge is not there to defeat you. It is there to strengthen the part of you that must rise to meet the future you are calling in. What feels like delay may actually be preparation. What feels like loss may be clearing space for something better. What feels like confusion may be redirecting your path. There is always more happening than you can see, and the very fact that you are still standing, still hoping, still searching is evidence that the greater version of you is emerging. You are not the same person you were before these challenges began. You are wiser now. You are more aware. You are more resilient. Something inside you is awakening. Do not measure your life by the difficulty of this moment. Measure it by the strength it is producing in you. Because once the challenge has passed, and it will, you will realize that the very pressure that made you uncomfortable was the force that elevated you. Something greater is being formed within you, and this season is simply shaping you for what you were always meant to receive. What you assume and feel as true begins shaping the circumstances around you, whether you are aware of it or not. Your inner state is continuously broadcasting a silent signal into your life, and the world responds to that signal with remarkable precision. Long before anything appears in physical form, it exists as a feeling, an assumption, a conviction held within your imagination. This inner belief becomes the blueprint your outer world follows. Life mirrors what you consistently accept as real, even when the evidence hasn't yet shown itself. Every transformation you've ever experienced began as a quiet shift inside you. Perhaps it was a sudden surge of confidence, a new expectation, a change in self-perception. Or maybe it was a subtle feeling that you deserved better, that something new was possible, that you no longer had to settle. The moment your inner world shifted, your outer world eventually followed. This is because your assumptions form the foundation of your reality. They are the roots that determine the fruit. When you assume something with conviction, when you feel it deeply as if it is already yours, you invite its manifestation. The feeling of having something precedes the having of it. And this is why your emotions are not random. They are creative forces. Feeling is the language of the inner world. Whatever you persistently feel, you call into your experience, positive or negative, hopeful or doubtful, empowering or limiting. Your inner state is always constructing something. This is why two people can face the same situation and experience entirely different outcomes. One assumes defeat and sees obstacles everywhere. The other assumes possibility and finds opportunities where none seem to exist. It is not the situation that defines them, but the belief they bring to it. The world bends to the assumptions that dominate your consciousness. If you continually assume that life is difficult, that nothing works out for you, that people can't be trusted, that you are stuck, then your reality will confirm those expectations, not because life is cruel, but because your inner state is instructing the world how to treat you. Conversely, if you assume that your desires are valid, that your path is guided, that solutions are always available, and that you are worthy of good things, your circumstances begin shifting to reflect those truths. The key is persistence. A single hopeful thought is not enough. You must dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must rehearse the reality you want to experience until it becomes natural to you. When your assumption feels normal, when the vision of what you desire feels familiar, life has no choice but to deliver it. This inner work is not about forcing anything. It is about aligning yourself with the version of you who already has what you seek. When you embody that feeling, you begin speaking differently, moving differently, expecting differently, and very soon your environment reshapes itself around your new inner state. Everything begins within you. Change your assumption, and you change the path of your life. Inner conviction is always followed by outer confirmation. Your faith is planting unseen seeds long before anything appears in your physical reality. Every time you choose to believe in the possibility of something greater, even without evidence, you are sowing spiritual seeds that will eventually manifest in ways you can see, touch, and experience. Faith is not passive. It is not simply wishing or hoping. It is the inner knowing, the deep acceptance that what you desire is already yours in essence. And this inner knowing activates forces far beyond what your eyes can perceive. When you hold a conviction with sincerity and persistence, you set a process in motion. You begin to act differently, think differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with a quiet confidence. This subtle shift influences every interaction, every decision, every response. And because your inner world is the root of all outer conditions, the conviction you carry becomes the instruction for your life to follow. Your world must eventually rearrange itself to match the truth you have accepted within. The seeds of faith are planted in silence. They are planted when you choose belief over fear. They are planted when you imagine a better outcome and feel it as real. They are planted when you persist in the face of doubt and refuse to let circumstances dictate your inner state. Just as a farmer covers his seeds under the soil and trusts the unseen process taking place beneath the surface, you must trust the unseen work happening in your life. You may not see immediate results, but growth is occurring in ways you cannot measure. Outer confirmation often comes slowly at first, appearing as small signs, unexpected opportunities, new connections, intuitive nudges, perfect timing moments, or subtle shifts in people and situations. These signs are not coincidences. They are sprouting seeds. They reveal that your inner conviction is taking form. What you hold in consciousness always seeks expression. And just like a seed, your faith contains within it the blueprint for the outcome you desire. But you must persist. The moment you let go of your conviction and fall into doubt, you uproot the seed before it has a chance to grow. Faith does not require you to see the full path. It only asks that you trust the next step. The process may involve delays, detours, or moments where nothing seems to be happening. But in truth, everything is happening. The unseen is organizing itself around your belief. Life is arranging opportunities and aligning circumstances in your favor. Your outer world will always reflect the state of your inner conviction. If your faith wavers, your results will waver. But when your conviction becomes unshakable, when you hold the feeling of your desire as if it has already been fulfilled, the universe cannot deny you. Outer confirmation becomes inevitable. So continue believing, continue imagining, continue assuming the best. Your faith is not wasted. Every thought you have lived in, every feeling you have nurtured, every vision you have claimed is forming roots. And soon, what was once invisible will be undeniable. Your conviction is guiding your reality, and the seeds you planted through faith are rising into sight. Every delay, detour, or disappointment is not a sign that your desire is being denied. It is part of the preparation for a breakthrough that is far greater than anything you could have orchestrated on your own. Life is always responding to the deepest intentions of your heart, but sometimes the path to fulfillment doesn't look the way your mind expects. When things slow down, when doors close, when plans collapse, it does not mean the universe has forgotten you. It means something is being rearranged, refined, or redirected so you can receive what truly aligns with your highest good. At the end of the day, delays can feel discouraging, especially when you're eager for change. But a delay is often a divine adjustment. It protects you from stepping into something before you're ready. It shields you from opportunities that would have caused stress or struggle. It strengthens your patience, sharpens your discernment, and deepens your faith. A delay gives you time to grow into the version of yourself who can fully hold the blessing that is coming. What looks like waiting is often inner building. Detours are just as important. Sometimes you think you know the straightest path to your desire, only to be led in a direction that seems completely opposite. But a detour is not a mistake. It is an alternate route designed to bring you into contact with people, experiences, or lessons you need. It might introduce you to someone who becomes a key part of your journey. It might help you discover a skill or strength you didn't know you had. It might refine your vision, helping you realize what you truly want. A detour often leads to a destination far better than the one you originally aimed for. And then there are disappointments, those moments when your expectations collapse and your heart feels heavy. It's easy to interpret these moments as rejection, but often they are redirection in disguise. Something you thought was right for you may have only offered temporary fulfillment. Something you prayed to keep might have held you back from a greater purpose. Disappointment clears the path for clarity. It removes what cannot stay, so that something aligned can enter. The loss you feel today may be the very thing that frees you for tomorrow's blessing. When you step back and see the bigger picture, you'll notice that nothing in your life has been wasted. Not a moment, not a setback, not a closed door. Every twist, every pause, every unexpected shift has been preparing you for a breakthrough that matches your inner growth. The timing you thought was late will turn out to be perfect. The closed doors will reveal themselves as protection. The disappointments will become the turning points of your story. Breakthroughs rarely come when everything is going smoothly. They arrive after seasons of stretching, strengthening, and surrendering. They arrive when you've developed the resilience, wisdom, and clarity to handle what you once only hoped for. So trust the delays, trust the detours, trust the disappointments. They are not working against you. They are shaping you, guiding you, and positioning you for the moment when everything comes together in a way that feels sudden, undeniable, and divinely orchestrated. Your imagination is the spiritual blueprint from which your new reality unfolds. Every vision you hold, every inner picture you consistently entertain becomes a silent instruction that shapes your future. Before anything manifests in your physical world, it must first exist within the realm of imagination. This inner world is not a place of fantasy or escape. It is the creative workshop of your life. It is where you design the experiences you will eventually walk into. The images you allow to dominate your mind become the seeds that life will eventually bring to fruition. When you imagine something vividly and feel it deeply, you activate the spiritual laws that govern creation. You bring yourself into alignment with the version of you who already possesses what you desire. Imagination allows you to step beyond present circumstances and connect with the reality you want to experience. It gives you access to states of being that transcend what your current environment suggests. Through imagination, you rehearse your future internally. And this internal rehearsal guides your actions, shapes your emotions, and influences the opportunities you attract. Most people use their imagination unconsciously, allowing fear, doubt, and worry to paint pictures of outcomes they never want to experience. Yet these images, if consistently entertained, can still manifest because imagination does not judge, it simply creates from what you feed it. This is why mastering your imagination is essential. You must become intentional with the visions you hold. You must choose images that reflect the life you wish to live, not the limitations you currently face. When your imagination is directed with purpose, the world around you begins to shift in response. Ideas start flowing, inspiration rises, people appear seemingly out of nowhere. Synchronicities happen. Your desires begin finding their way to you, not because of luck, but because your inner world has sent out a clear signal that the outer world begins to mirror. Imagination is the bridge between your spiritual identity and your physical experience. It is the tool through which unseen possibilities become visible realities. The beauty of imagination is that it is limitless. No matter your circumstances, you can envision something greater. Even when life feels restrictive, your imagination remains free. When your outer world feels stagnant, your inner world can remain vibrant and alive with possibility. And as you continue to nurture these inner pictures, they eventually override your previous assumptions. Suddenly, the vision feels real. It feels natural. It feels like something you were always meant to experience. Once the feeling of your imagined reality becomes familiar, the physical world begins rearranging itself to match it. Opportunities emerge, new paths open, solutions appear. This is not magic, it is alignment. You are simply stepping into the life you mentally rehearsed, the life you spiritually prepared for through imagination. So guard your imagination, use it intentionally. Let it paint pictures of abundance, healing, love, success, and purpose. Let it show you who you can become, not who you have been. Your imagination is the blueprint, the foundation, the silent architect of your destiny. And as you continue to give life to these inner images, your new reality will unfold with clarity, purpose, and divine precision. God moves quietly at first, then suddenly, all your quiet work within will soon manifest without. The greatest shifts in your life rarely announce themselves with noise or spectacle. They begin in the stillness of your inner world long before any visible change appears. This is how divine movement works: subtle, gentle, almost imperceptible, until the moment arrives when everything unfolds at once. What you have been nurturing in silence, your prayers, your affirmations, your assumptions, your inner healing, your intentional thoughts, has been gathering momentum beneath the surface. And just like a seed hidden underground, the first signs of growth are always invisible. When you do the inner work, you may feel like nothing is happening. You imagine the life you desire, you hold the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you persist in faith even when appearances contradict you. It can feel quiet, lonely, or slow, but that inner consistency is reshaping the spiritual pattern of your life. Every moment you choose a higher thought, every time you assume the best, every time you forgive, release, or rise above old patterns, you are creating a new energetic blueprint. The world cannot ignore this shift. It must respond. It must reflect what you have planted within. But because growth begins internally, your outer world often appears unchanged at first. This is the stage when many people give up. They assume their efforts aren't working, that their imagination is wasted, that their faith isn't producing results. Yet this quiet phase is the most powerful part of the process. It is where the unseen roots develop. It is where alignment is formed. It is where clarity strengthens. The silence is not absence, it is preparation. And then, just when you least expect it, the suddenly arrives, the opportunity appears, the relationship shifts, the door opens, the breakthrough comes. What once seemed far away becomes your new reality. What you imagined becomes tangible. What you held in consciousness becomes something you can finally see and touch. These sudden manifestations are never random. They are the flowering of everything you cultivated internally. The world sees the sudden moment, but God saw the quiet preparation. People will think your breakthrough came overnight, but you will know the truth. It was the result of countless moments when you chose faith over fear, persistence over doubt, vision over circumstance. Your inner work has created a foundation strong enough to support the blessings coming your way. So don't underestimate the quiet season you're in. It is not stagnant, it is sacred. It is where creation is most active. Keep imagining, keep aligning, keep believing, keep nurturing the vision that lives within you. What you do in silence is never wasted. Every thought, every assumption, every moment of inner conviction is shaping a future that will arrive with clarity and force. God moves quietly, then suddenly and soon, what you have been preparing for in secret will manifest openly in your life. The very things you held in your heart will stand before you, undeniable and beautifully real. Your inner work is working. Your suddenly is already on its way. In the end, everything you are walking through right now, every challenge, every shift, every quiet moment of faith, is shaping you for something far greater than you can imagine. What you are cultivating within is building the foundation for the life that is unfolding before you. Your inner conviction, your imagination, your persistence and your belief are forming the bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. Nothing you've endured has been wasted. Nothing you've hoped for has been ignored. And nothing you are believing for is beyond reach. You are being guided. You are being strengthened. You are being prepared. Trust the timing, embrace the process, and continue choosing faith over fear. Because the life you've envisioned in silence is already making its way into your reality. Your breakthrough is closer than it appears. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. And thank you for allowing these words to become a part of your journey.